Diamond has a monopoly because literally no one else wants to do this job. When DC decided they wanted to have their own distribution, it's not like they could go to another company because no other company wants to do it. They had to found companies to distribute comics.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It's hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Okay, Dal, before we do anything, and I acknowledge you don't know what I'm doing, can you see the board from here?
Yes.
At the top left column,
Yes.
There's something written in a circle.
Yes.
Can you please read that out loud?
I believe it says chocolate chip cookies - no nuts.
Perfect, thank you.
Got it.
So we were going to start this episode with basically what's been a recurring theme the last several weeks. And that little segment is something we like to call, How Has DC Fucked Us Now?
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday I asked you, like, oh, we're going to record, Thursday because we had time. And you're like, whatever works for you, you tell me. And I said, well, let's wait until Friday because I'm sure something else will happen. And boy, did it. Boy, oh boy, did it happen.
Did it? I wasn't on the internet today.
On Friday, June 5th.
Well, first of all, let's talk about what we were going to start with.
Okay.
How DC had fucked us earlier this week. And that is in the way in which discounts are tabulated from Diamond Comics and their ordering system. And basically, your discount is different per publisher. It's estimated based off of what you've spent with that publisher previous.
Yeah, it's like rolling discount. So like every 6 months or so, or a year, or however often, they recalculate it based on what you're spending. So in theory, the more you spend,
the higher your discount.
The higher discount. And it's not locked in at a certain rate. So it entices you to keep spending at a certain level to maintain your discount, or maybe spend more to get a higher discount.
Well, once Diamond closed down for the pandemic, and DC opted to go with 2 new distributors in that time, they had canceled all of Diamond's customers' existing orders. Basically zeroed them all out.
Yep.
So on next week's invoice, we noticed that a lot of those DC books that should have come out during the Diamond closure but are coming to us next week, our discount is significantly lower. In fact, 20 percentage points lower
it's a lot.
Than what it was.
It's a lot.
And that is because when the system goes to calculate the discount, it looks at what you previously ordered, and all those books, zeros.
Yeah, you didn't order anything from DC's order form for that month.
So it gave us the lowest possible discount that you could get.
Yeah.
And that is 20 points lower than what you got. That's basically, and double check my math, like an extra 40 cents per issue.
Yeah, it's not great.
That we're paying for these books.
Yeah.
Now, apparently this mistake will be corrected and credits will be issued, etc., but it's still a thing that retailers had to find out and say, hey, what is this?
Yeah, not only did Diamond not catch it, but retailers did catch it, and now that money is tied up for an additional week or whatever.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a couple weeks. That's how it, I mean, it takes a while for these things to work out. And I mean, I get it. If I may diverge slightly, I am doing an Alzheimer's 5K, in theory, in September. I say in theory because A, it may be canceled because of the pandemic, and B, who knows if I'll be able to walk then.
Yeah, 5 kilometers. That seems like a lot, Patrick.
Yeah.
It seems like an awful lot.
So fundraising for it, I've been doing it different ways, and one of those ways is a Facebook fundraiser. And the Facebook fundraiser is a small portion of what I've raised. But they've just started a system where the actual Alzheimer's Association will find your page and say, hey, thanks for doing this. Here's a whole bunch of tips on how you can raise more money on Facebook. So they sent me a message like that on Monday, 2 days after my mom died. And I said,
consider it.
Hey, look.
Consider it.
I'm one of this event's top fundraisers. My mom just died. I do not appreciate you posting on my wall at all.
No. Nope.
3 days later, yesterday, they did it again.
Wow.
So I posted the exact same message and added, if you post on my wall one more time, I'm shutting this whole thing down. Then I got a reply from them saying, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We take your concerns seriously. We'll first they said, we'll pass them along, but then they edited it because you can see the edits on Facebook.
Sure.
But long story short, I found out, as I suspected, it's an algorithm. It's not a person doing this.
Yeah, no, there's no one posting to your board. It's all automated.
And
they
there's
paid money to Facebook for that to happen.
There's no specific way to not post it to me. Like, they'd have to each time set up a new code and say, okay, omit this person. And they're not doing that.
No.
So it's a very similar situation to Diamond's program.
Right.
And I don't blame Diamond for this at all.
No.
By the way, if anybody wants to donate to that Alzheimer's that Alzheimer's fundraiser, you can just go to rememberingfrancis.com, and I will most likely be shilling it every episode for the next few months.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, so the discount will be reapplied, not that it matters. But first, before we move on with the DC subject matter, I think it's better to go back in time to...
Oh my god, I would love that. Thank you. 2015. I love it. Let's do it.
No, 2016. That was a big year for us.
It was good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not all of 2016 was good.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Up to August of 2016. You're right. I was callously looking at financials. By the way, speaking of financials, we are roughly $70,000 below where we were last year.
Well, that's good. What did we make last year? $8 million?
$8 million,
That's
yes.
great.
Well, it was like 7.
No big deal.
Yeah. $70,000.
It's a lot of dollars.
Under.
Usually use those dollars to live.
Sure.
I use a lot less than that those dollars to live.
Yeah.
Shit.
I like that we're both using the stuffed animals for our feet.
Sure. I'm using the bin.
Oh,
the
okay.
Animals.
So right after we recorded last week's episode, we found out that Challengers of River North, what we referred to as Blue, had been looted.
Yep.
And we did a quick little postscript about the looting. Well, after that postscript, and it was mentioned in the notes of the episode, but we hadn't talked about it, it was looted 6 separate times that night.
Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but one of the problems with the citywide curfew was that when our store got looted at like 9:45 on Saturday, we couldn't go out there until 6 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah.
So basically it was a good 8 hours of people being able to just walk in through a broken window and grab whatever they could grab and walk out the broken window.
And it was not funny. It was like the first people in and out, grabbed stuff, ran.
Yeah, total smash and grab.
But then each progressive group of people spent longer, took more.
Shopped, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there was one point where on the security tape you can even hear somebody saying, what kind of store is this? A bookstore? So they just came in because it was a broken window. They didn't care.
What's in this one?
I think Dal had the line of the night where he said, see? People can find that store.
I think I said that we had more people in looting that night than we ever had in any day
at any given
that
point.
The store was actually open.
Yeah. Yep.
Any single day got beat by the 8 hours it was being looted. Way more people.
Oh, man. Huge thanks to the people that have helped us at Blue so far, because I'm still unavailable to
so many folks
to go there. But
pitched in.
Thank you to Jenny Frizen and Steve Seeley, and to the team that went out on Wednesday, Isabella Rotman, and Keith Springham, and Ashley Edwards, and Molly Lohr, and Kent Challenger.
And Mike Lee for pitching in on Sunday and actually finding the weird secret back route to be able to get past the sanitation truck blockades that I spent 2 hours trying to circumnavigate. And
a 15-minute trip took 2 hours because they had the garbage truck blocking all the roads.
Yeah.
But Mike found a side street that they just didn't block it enough.
Well, no. So basically, the sanitation trucks were running parallel to streets at intersections. So basically, perpendicular to cars that were trying to get through. Yeah. So like an east-west street, they'd be parked north-south. You couldn't get past them. What one of the trucks ended up doing was that at Halstead, Ohio, instead of parking north-south on Ohio, it parked east-west, which means it just parked. Like the
Like
lane to
parallel
get through, yeah, it parked like a car would park normally. So you could just drive right past it. There was no one there. And then once you could do that, you were past the blockade and you could go wherever you wanted. And that's the only way that we were able to get to Challengers Blue and do 2 full loads to get nearly all the graphic novels out of the store, which was great. That was the thing that was stressing me out was, hey, it's boarded up. The property management team for the building boarded up the window, but no one was coming out to do new glass that day. And as of Friday, not yet.
Yeah, literally it was, hey, we'll do it Monday. Monday? No, there's no way. Can we do it Wednesday? Sure. Wednesday they don't call. I call back and say, hey, we don't care if it's not today or tomorrow. Just let us know. And they said, okay. And we've heard nothing.
Yeah, so it's been 6 days since the window got smashed, and it's just boarded up. We'll see what happens.
Dal, I did know that how you guys got there, but I wanted to make it sound like it was more dangerous and more cunning that you had.
No.
There.
And even Mike said that he only found it because he's on Google Maps, and Google's like this street. So somehow Google knew the one way to get in. And each time we used that entrance, we were just like, is it going to be blocked next time? Or is it going to be blocked the next day, whenever? It was definitely tricky to do it. And thanks to Mike for not only finding that, but then helping me load out that Sunday.
And lending us his really nice shop vac.
It's true, yeah.
So that store is empty of all product now. It just has fixtures still. Mm-hmm. And that'll be...
neon signs and some other stuff, too.
Unfortunately, the bookshelves that we were trying to sell got destroyed.
Yep.
They knocked them all... They just pushed them all over. Full of books, so they're heavy when they hit each other on the ground. These are really sturdy, great shelves we've used for years and read. But as soon as you knock them over, they get bent all to hell.
Yeah, especially when they land on each other, because they are very heavy.
Yeah.
And the metal, it doesn't break, it just bends. So, yeah, they're all warped in ways that they are garbage now. So that's a bummer.
Yeah. And now we have to figure out how to get them out of the store.
Yeah. But in general, the amount of people who have said really nice things and given condolences about what happened to River North, I do want to stress, nobody that we know got hurt at River North. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was going to say I'm sitting here hurt right now.
It's true.
But not because of River North.
Yeah, but no employees or friends of the store got hurt in the looting, so it's just stuff. And the protesters still matter. So it's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world.
Certainly not fun, though.
Not that I want to make this the political podcast, but did you see the NFL had a statement today about Black Lives Matter?
I did. First of all, if we're going to talk about that, I'd like to point out how tone deaf it was for the San Francisco 49ers to...
They did the blackout square?
Yeah, and hashtag Black Lives Matter.
It's the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, how dare you.
It would only have been better if they would have used, the Colin Kaepernick Nike portrait or whatever.
Yeah.
You just own it. Just be as shameless as possible.
How dare you.
But certainly, you could file it under better late than never, but it is still pretty late for the NFL to decide that, hey, you know what? Protesting against police brutality maybe is a worthy thing to do and doesn't tarnish the NFL brand.
And maybe it wasn't about the flag all along.
Yeah, what? But anyway.
How dare you. Did you hear that the head of I can't remember the actual title, of the Chicago Police Board was out protesting and police beat him up?
No, really?
He got batoned 5 times in the legs.
Oof, golly.
Yeah, and he's in Lori Lightfoot's previous position that she resigned to run for mayor.
Wow.
So he's the head of the Citizens Council that has to approve changes to the police organizations. And he got beaten up by police. Yeah.
It's going real great out there.
That's not what we're here to talk about.
Nope.
First of all, we're going to talk about the fact that we are open for business now.
We are, it's true.
And we talked about it last week, but now it's happening.
Yeah.
And our store hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Closed on Sundays.
Yeah. Did you know we had a special guest on Wednesday?
I didn't. Oh, wait. Was it me?
It was you. Yeah.
Oh,
It was Patrick Brower. Brower was on Wednesday.
I was in on Wednesday for just about 4 hours. Counting that early hour.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but yes, true.
I wound up leaving right before they started bringing all the stuff back from Blue.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I would have helped unload cars anyway.
No.
But yeah, Dal drove me in on Wednesday. My sister and brother-in-law very kindly came out to take my car to get a tire looked at because it was continually losing air. So they got that patched. Found out that I needed new brakes that I did not get because it's too expensive currently. And then when the car was done, they took me back home.
Nice.
It was good to be at the store. I wanted to be at the store the day that we were open first because it's been, since March 21st.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been in the store in a month. That was the 4-week mark from my accident. And it's weird because I'm uncomfortable physically there because
it's all red. I know. Tell me about it. It's so weird.
Where's the blue?
Anyway.
There's nowhere for me to really prop my leg up, and I can't. Normally, I sit on the stool and do paperwork on the computer. Like Wednesdays is invoice day, and I was trying to do that, but there's nowhere for my leg to rest against anything.
What if we brought down the giant Batman pop vinyl box? You're still on that?
Yeah, maybe. That'd be too high.
It's pretty high off the ground.
But then I'd have to pivot my whole body because where does it go?
That's true.
And if I just stand still, like it's a standing desk, that's when everything just, like all the blood is throbbing in the hematoma, and it's not great. I do want to slowly build up to being back there more.
Me too.
This is, Well, the problem is I don't know when how long it'll take till I can be there and you're not there.
Sure.
I also can't really bend that knee, so I can't put socks on. So I was just in black Crocs that day. I don't think anybody noticed.
Sure.
I did, though. It's weird.
It's not a fashion faux pas to wear shoes and no socks if you're a man.
Yeah, I know. It's just that I like sweating in Crocs is fine because for the most part they're washable.
Sure.
But sweating in a shoe, you're damaging that shoe.
Plus
normally you would sweat into a sock and you wash the sock.
Sure.
And it's funny. I bought my dad, and this is way off topic. Bought my dad a sock putter honor for old people years ago that he's never used. I should just take it back.
You should.
But I still don't know if I have the mobility to get to it.
Yeah.
I did, following up on something I talked about last week, I did do my laundry today.
Congratulations.
I did a couple of loads. It was 4 trips up and down the 48 steps to the laundry from the apartment to the laundry in the basement. And that's just going one step at a time. So it took me forever to go up and down the stairs. And after each time I was exhausted. Because like going down once and then getting in a car or coming home and going up the stairs, fine.
Sure.
But this is going down and then up within you're only at the laundry for a few minutes as you unload everything.
Right.
So it was quicker. And by the time, each time I got up, it was a little bit, let's just say I was extremely run down after doing that.
I believe it.
But I'm super excited to have clean sheets.
Nice.
So when you come to the store to shop, we have rules, and we've talked about them before, but we're going to reemphasize them. You must wear a mask. If you do not have a mask, you can buy one from us for $1. I don't think you've needed to sell any masks this week.
I did to somebody. They didn't need one, but they wanted to know if we were selling masks. I'm like, oh, this one on my face? Like, I had no, just any mask. I'm like, I got some I can sell you for $1, and they wanted 5 because they didn't really have any. And I'm like, part of me is like, that's not really what we're doing here. But the other part of me is like, this person needs masks, and they live in the same society I do.
Okay.
I want them to have masks.
On a quick side note, in one of the local Bucktown community groups on Facebook, there's been a discussion about going to restaurants and how people aren't wearing masks. And it is the same complete bullshit nonsense you'd expect. Half the people are like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm at a restaurant. In fact, when I'm at a restaurant and the server has a mask, I demand they take it off. I can't understand them. I can't hear them.
That's a weird complaint.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's the worst. And it made me so angry. But anyway.
So, no, I want to talk about that for a second.
Okay.
So if people go into a restaurant, like, how do you wear a mask at a restaurant? Like, how do you eat and wear a mask?
Well, specifically the servers, and like you can have the mask on until the food comes and you take it off.
The staff, sure. Yeah, they should all be wearing masks.
Right.
And gloves I'd probably appreciate.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, as soon as I sat down at a table, it's like, I'm taking this mask off. Like,
complaints were also that tables weren't 6 feet apart.
Sure.
Things like that.
Sure.
What is the city maximum? 6 per table now?
I have
like your
no
group
idea.
can only be 6 people?
I mean, it's basically terrible. Like,
Yeah.
the numbers are so low, and they have to be low to be safe, that it's like, why even do this?
I mean, some people would say, oh, I was at this restaurant, everything was great, they did it right.
Mm-hmm.
And other things like, yeah, I went to this place, like every stool at the bar was filled.
Sure. Yeah.
People want to go out, people want to socialize.
Yeah.
Wear a mask when you come to Challengers. If not, you can buy a mask. Practice social distancing. Please stay as far away from people as possible. I noticed that some of that was not happening on
So in general, what I've
Wednesday
noticed is that
when I was there.
we never really had like a maximum occupancy problem.
Yeah.
There was never a point where I'm like, this is too many people. Because even like a New Comics Wednesday, it's still during a pandemic. There's people who are like, I don't want to go to the store, or I'm going to go less often. So while we had a good Wednesday, the amount of people was below average for a day that we would have that dollar total.
Yeah.
When people were close by, it was very, very brief instances. And you haven't been grocery shopping in a little while, but
No.
it's kind of the same thing at grocery stores, where like you are generally apart from people, but there may be instances where you pass close by somebody, or you know, you're waiting for them to finish in their section so you can grab something from where they're grabbing at. So it's little things like that. I never really saw anybody who was like, I didn't see people from 2 different groups being too close to each other.
Okay.
Like if people were close to each other, they came in together, and it's not.
I mean, I was grocery shopping like a month ago, and it seemed like anytime I wanted to get something, I had to wait for somebody to get out of that spot. And they were mainly just like looking through their cart, happened to stand in front of where I wanted to be. A quick side note, Dow was going grocery shopping tonight, and he said, hey, do you want to come with? And I said, no, I absolutely do not.
I thought maybe you felt like it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like, stay here. Like, no, if you want to go, sure. Maybe you wanted to test yourself.
Getting into a car is still very difficult because of how much you have to bend your leg. So there is that. Also, 10-person maximum occupancy. Chicago Comics, which I believe is significantly larger than us, is doing 5 people at a time.
That seems like a very low number.
Yeah, but they said that'll change.
Well, and some of it is based on how your store is configured. I've been to Chicago Comics, and unless they've changed things drastically, their aisles are not really set up in a way that it is, you could really have 10 people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, our aisles are very wide. We don't have a ton of little, cul-de-sacs and narrow lanes. Like, it's very easy to be in one section and walk by somebody else without being in their direct vicinity. Like, I think our store is configured in a way where 10 makes sense for us.
Gotcha.
But again, we didn't hit that number, I don't think, on Wednesday.
No. I mean, we rarely do.
Right.
Aside from events, which won't be happening for a while.
Which are not happening.
This is a thing we didn't talk about before, but I think it's a good practice. People should use the hand sanitizer as soon as they come in. Because we're in a store where they're going to be touching stuff.
Yes and no. So, yeah. But it's not usually people touching the same things, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Like, there were not a lot of sections that I had to clean each night, because there's just, like, most people come in, their books are on the counter, they pick up their books, they walk them around, they walk them up to the main counter, I ring them up, I hand them back their books, they walk out the door. Like, what have they really touched?
Sure.
They didn't necessarily put their hands on the counter.
Yeah, but better safe than sorry.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I'll clean the counter, and I'll clean the other counter, but what else are they? They're mostly just walking around, and the things that they're touching, are the things that they're buying and carrying out. So luckily, like, I don't think there's that much risk for a lot of this stuff. But I did probably say 40% of people use the hand sanitizer before they walked around.
Oh, that's great. And because it's so thin, I don't remember who it was on Wednesday, but they had mentioned using a spray bottle. I thought that was a great idea. So we have a spray bottle coming in on Wednesday.
Somebody else suggested something that I tried, because they had the same problem where they'd gotten very thin hand sanitizer, and what they did and what I tried is basically put packing tape around the pump.
Yeah, so it can't
go down that far.
Okay. It's also being suggested that if we fill it with aloe vera gel, it'll thicken it up.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, that's like $15 a bottle or whatever.
Meh.
Yeah, but anyway, like, we'll still leave the pump on the table, but we'll also have a spray bottle, because I think that might be easier for people. We'll set it to the mist setting, not the stream. So that may be more hopeful. Yeah, those are the rules, right? I covered everything?
I think so.
Okay. We're happy to see people in the store. People are happy to come in the store.
Yeah, it's been a good crowd the last few days.
Yeah, it was a good dollar amounts, but mainly because people have 3 months worth of books on hold.
Yeah, I mean, this was a weird week. We did a really high number on Wednesday, and it was just like, wow. Which is weird because not a lot came out on Wednesday. There were no new Marvel books. New Marvel trades, but those didn't really sell.
No.
There was the new $10 Catwoman special, but that was not a huge mover. Same thing for the $10 Birds of Prey book. So it was just, a lot of it was just people who were either buying a bunch of backstock things because they could come in and shop now, or people buying, subscription stuff that had maybe been sitting there from February and March before the shutdown that they just never even contacted us to get over April and May.
Speaking of subscribers coming in, we talked last week about, we had a subscriber who passed away.
Yeah.
And how their mom called and told us the next day and said, hey, take the books off hold.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said, wow, it's amazing that she would do that. And we have customers that move it, don't tell us.
Mm-hmm.
We got an email of a customer who's like, hey, I moved.
By the way, I moved during the pandemic. Whoops. But at least they were like, hey, I want to get, let me get the stuff that's on hold.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to press them on it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And they offered that right away, which is great.
They had so much stuff because when they're like, oh, I forgot to tell you, what they meant was I also didn't come in for 4 months. And then there was the pandemic and I moved. So it was like they had like X-Men 4 through 9, 5 issues of X-Force. They only were down for like 4 books, but they had a lot of them because they were all books that came out maybe once or twice a month for 5 months.
So we talked about how the mom had all these nice things to say about the store.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it on this podcast. But we never really post stuff like that on social media because I don't know if I feel right about doing stuff like that.
Sure.
But this week, Flying Colors out in Concord, California had one of their really young customers who had some issues, physical issues, passed away. And his mom came to just say how much he'd loved the store and what it meant to him and how it helped him read and things like that.
That's great.
And so they filmed a video with her. I think his name was Mighty Max.
Okay.
Or Super Max, one of those two. And it was a really nice video, and it reminded me a lot of what Todd's mom had said. But I still don't know that I would feel right posting that.
Yeah.
It comes to the point where we've been fairly quiet on social media this week because we don't want to distract from the important discussions.
Sure.
And there's a point where people are talking about how anybody who's advertising something right now, it's in bad taste, but also corporations who are trying to leverage the Black Lives Matter movement for their own publicity is just in horrible taste.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be one of those stores, and I don't just want to say Black Lives Matter and not do anything about it.
Sure.
I mean, I've been filling out petitions and donating on my own,
Right.
but I'm not advertising, oh, we're doing that. But at the same time, if we post anything about it, I feel like we would have to say, look, we're not just saying.
Yeah,
We're trying to do.
The last thing I would want to do is just do like a hashtag or whatever and be like, there we go.
Yeah.
Contributed.
For Blackout Tuesday, where everybody was putting up a black image on social media.
Yeah.
We did it on Instagram.
Sure.
We didn't hashtag it. We didn't talk about anything.
So did you hear the problem with hashtagging it?
Well, hashtagging if you hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Right.
If you hashtag Blackout Tuesday.
Right, but a lot of people were hashtagging Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was burying the important information.
Yeah, there were a ton of people that were trying to communicate important things about protests,
Yeah.
and instead it was a billion black squares.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't post anything to ours. Sure. And I feel there's a lot of people who are posting resources and important things, and I don't just want to copy their stuff and paste it.
Right.
So we're not doing anything, but I don't want not doing anything to be perceived as doing nothing.
Yeah, I think for us, I think we're trying to figure out what the best thing we can do is. Like, one of the problems is we have no money.
Yeah.
So a lot of the, we'll do this charity thing. A year ago we would have had a tough time doing that, and now we have so much less money. As Patrick mentioned, down $70,000 this year.
Yeah. And had a store that just got looted 6 times.
Yeah.
And
so doing a lot of things like
only one of us is working.
Yeah, like big donations and stuff like that's just, it's not something we can really do. So anything we do would need to be a little bit more creative than that. And I mean, one, I don't know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
And two,
We're the wrong people to ask.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need to know what a middle-aged white guy thinks is the best way to support the protests and Black Lives Matter. Like I have no window into that. The other thing is, and not to be selfish about it, I have no bandwidth for this. Like, literally keeping the store running at way less than 100% is taking all of my energy. I don't have a minute to be like, here's what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't have days off. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Dal's not had a day off since the last time he spoke to you.
So if someone wants to come to us with ideas on how we can best help the people out there doing the important work, please do.
Well, to be fair, we have an idea.
Yeah.
Of a thing that may happen.
That may happen, but it's not definite, and it's not immediate. So
it's on the board, but we're not going to talk about it.
So if people have,
oh man, that was almost a pun.
Hey, so if people have a suggestion, a way of what little time and energy we've got that we can be useful, like, let us know, please.
As if the world isn't chaotic enough, as if we don't have enough on our plate and your plate is significantly fuller than my plate, something happened today in the comics industry that is, I think, the biggest thing to happen. Do you think this eclipsed Diamond's shutdown?
Oh, by far, yeah.
Because that was a temporary measure.
Oh, man. This is maybe the biggest news in comics, in the comics industry, comics retail market, in decades.
Yeah.
Literally
Certainly
decades.
since we've been open.
Yeah.
DC Comics has severed ties with Diamond Comic Distributors, the number one distributor of comics in the comics industry, and the place where we get all of our single-issue comics for the most part.
Yeah, it got announced today. DC sent an email out to all of their accounts basically saying, hey, by the way...
On a Friday afternoon?
On a Friday. It's almost like they didn't want to answer any questions or have anyone really question them about it. So DC sent an email that said that they are severing ties with Diamond, that as of the June 1st final order cutoff, which means from 4 days ago, that is the last DC product that Diamond is going to be distributing. So the stuff that's coming out, like, the 23rd?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Like, so whatever you've already ordered, that's it. Whatever you haven't done a final order on, including all of the stuff in the new catalog that Diamond shipped, including DC product, like 10 days ago, that's not coming out through Diamond. Also, it means that backstock, also not going to be coming out from Diamond at a certain point. I don't know if that part has been answered fully by either DC or Diamond. Whether it's effective immediately, effective in a few weeks, effective in a few days.
Well, I wouldn't expect Diamond to be able to answer anything right away because...
Yeah, so Diamond didn't really know about this. One thing I did want to mention, though, is that DC had started up alternate distribution channels while Diamond was shut down. Lunar and UCS, which are two new companies as offshoots of Midtown Comics and DCBS.
Discount Comic Book Service.
So
I want to point out that during the Diamond shutdown, DC is the only publisher that said, no, we have to keep putting product out.
Right.
Everybody else said, hey, we understand the burden that you're all under. We'll wait.
Yeah.
You think Marvel couldn't have done their own distributor again?
Yeah, and yet they didn't. So DC started up two separate accounts that would distribute to stores outside of Diamond. And for a little while, the last few weeks, it was like, okay, well, that's just what it's going to be. Diamond has these two alternate channels that are all about getting people their books for Tuesday on sale so that DC can have Tuesday on sale to unify communications across all their channels, which is apparently job one, way above putting together comics or making money. Unifying communications across their channels, that's it. That's just tattooed on everyone's foreheads. So when they talk to each other in the office, they're aware that this conversation better be about unifying communications across channels. But what you've got prior to today was two distributors that just distribute DC stuff, and then you've got Diamond that distributes everything else. And then all of a sudden now you have only the two smaller distributors that distribute DC stuff, And you can only get DC stuff from them. And then you've got Diamond, which is everybody else in the market. DC sent out their email. Whole industry's in shock. Diamond eventually sends out an email where they say, hey, this is the timeline of what's been going on. Diamond, the last time that they re-upped their exclusivity contract with DC and Diamond, the thing that DC asked for was to have a clause put in where if they gave 60 days of notice, they could cancel the contract with no cause. It didn't need to be because of anything. They could just say, we're activating this, and in 60 days we can close it.
Yeah.
And they did that when Diamond shut down. And that's when they started to have their... to be non-exclusive. DC then asked Diamond to renegotiate the contract and address some clauses and concerns, and Diamond did, and DC asked for some time to think it over, and Diamond gave it to them, and DC asked for more time, and Diamond gave it to them. DC asked for more time, and Diamond said, hey, can we get an answer on this? And DC said, sure, June 5th, and that's when they canceled the contract.
Yeah, they got a termination notice.
Yeah.
Like, not even a, hey, thanks, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure
they thanked Steve Jeppy and Diamond in the email they sent to retailers, but it certainly sounds like they did not have much fond memories of the thing with DC. And so this is what's so great with DC and Diamond, and how beautifully this is done in a way where when you make the movie about comics distribution as an archaic, defeated, destroyed industry, DC is kind of the alpha and omega of it, because DC was the one who, when Marvel split, and Marvel did Heroes World, Marvel was doing its own distribution, you had Capital City and you had Diamond. DC said, Diamond. We're exclusive with Diamond. And that was the domino. Like, more than Heroes World, it was DC choosing Diamond that made Capital City unable to continue, and everybody else joined to Diamond. And then eventually Heroes World was such a fiasco that Marvel came back, and they could only come back to Diamond. Now you've got DC in 2020 saying we are leaving Diamond at, like, effective immediately, more or less, and doing our own thing. Which, it's funny to see this report in different places, because kind of depending on where you go, it's received differently. Like places like Polygon, which is like video game nerd stuff, that'll do some comics coverage, but it's really like a video game entertainment media sort of site. The people there are like, oh, great, Diamond has a monopoly. This is so great that the DC's going its own way. And it's like, Diamond has a monopoly because literally no one else wants to do this job. When DC decided they wanted to have their own distribution, it's not like they could go to another company because no other company wants to do it. They had to found companies to distribute comics. And even then, they're not full-line distributors. I don't know if DCBS or Midtown is willing to ramp up to start including potentially like Marvel or Image or Dark Horse, should those become options. The scale of that is ridiculous, and there's no money in it. It is not an industry that anybody wanted to be in besides Diamond. So while they're a monopoly, some of that is because of business practices they had decades ago, and some of that is because nobody wants to be in that business but
there's
them.
Nowhere else to go. It's not as if you can say, hey, I'm a new publisher. I don't want to go with Diamond. I'll go with the other guys.
Yeah.
There isn't any other guys.
And there's publishers they'll go with their own.
They'll do it themselves.
Like Alterna, I think, just started doing independent because they weren't getting what they felt like was anything from Diamond.
Yeah.
And obviously you can be, a graphic novel publisher and never have your stuff through Diamond. You can just go through any number of other distributors or what have you. Diamond doesn't carry every graphic novel. There's been graphic novels that we've had to get from places like Ingram and Baker and Taylor because that publisher's just like, I'm not selling to Diamond. I don't care. But the thing about this that's so disastrous, like, I guess let's take it from the lower level, which is DC being through a completely different distributor. Like, how does that affect challengers? What are we going to do? Because we don't, when DC went through Lunar and UCS, we were just like, forget it. We'll
wait it out. We'll
Diamond had already said it's going to be a few weeks, so we can wait a few weeks. We don't need to get random Hill House comics and, an issue of Green Lantern Season 2 that early. It's fine. No one's clamoring to get this stuff. No one's aching to get these books from us, so we can wait an extra week. It's fine. And we don't like the idea of having to go through, places like Midtown and DCBS. So that changed. The new options that retailers have, effective again immediately, is UCS and Lunar, which are DCBS in Midtown, for comics and graphic novels from DC, and or Penguin Random House for just graphic novels. We are absolutely going to be activating a Penguin Random House account pretty much in the next few days, as fast as we can, because not so much for the front list stuff, because that's a separate conversation, but not being able to reorder DC graphic novels is not good for us. There's a lot of... I mean, I sold a Sandman graphic novel today. I sold a Watchmen today. I have to be able to get that stuff back.
Yeah.
No matter what I think of the single issue thing, I have to be able to stock those graphic novels. And the secondary distributor we use now is... They're not a specific distributor so much as they carry a lot of different companies. So we need to go with someone who's going to give us the best discount, and that's someone who basically is like the main book distributor for DC.
Yeah, we use Ingram for things we can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and
we're paying more for them.
Yeah, and the advantage is, like Diamond, we can aggregate together a whole bunch of different vendors into one order.
Yeah.
To hit minimums to be able to get stuff shipped out. DC on its own is going to hit that minimum, and we want to make sure it's something where we're getting the best discount possible. If we go through Ingram, we're going to be losing money overnight. I mean, we kind of still will, potentially.
Yeah, but not as much.
Not as much. And
10% points less or more, I guess, depending on how you want to phrase it.
I think it's like 3.5 to 5.
Oh.
If Penguin Random House's discount is what I'm thinking it is.
Okay.
And also, we could maybe be saving some money because shipping is so much better. So, in general, like a lot of stores that do a lot of graphic novels, we're going to be moving to the system that a lot of them are, which is that you maybe do a lot of your graphic novel reshipments through the book trade rather than through comic distributors because of how much you can save on shipping. If you can make the dollar amounts work, and we're going to try and make them work. It's something that we should have been doing a while ago, and we probably should have been working on it during the shutdown, but this accelerates how much we would need to do that, so that's going to be something that we do. I don't think it's something that the average consumer will notice. This is a very behind-the-curtain sort of thing.
I mean, I hope not.
No. But single issues, Patrick. What are we going to do about single-issue DC comic books?
It's funny, because you say single issues, but there's so many issues involved with this. First of all, we haven't decided who we're actually going to open an account with.
No.
They both have minuses attached to them.
Yep.
We're not excited for working with either of these companies.
Nope.
But the big question remains is, do we continue to order DC Comics in the way that we had been in the pandemic? Mm-hmm. Obviously not the order we were doing beforehand. That'd be foolish. Or do we spite DC and only order what we have subscriptions for? And it's really tempting to do that because they don't care about us. Why should we care about them?
Yeah. And there's a lot of retailers that are going to be doing that. I think there's a lot of retailers that are like, I don't care. Like, I'm so mad at DC, I'm not going to give them a goddamn dime. And I don't blame them.
I don't blame them either.
Like, one of the things I told you that was most funny and frustrating to me is that DC's communication on this still has not managed in all of their emails ever since they started their own sub-distributors. They have not yet been able to articulate how this is good for the direct market.
They keep saying it is.
They keep saying it is. Even in their email they sent where they said they're getting rid of Diamond and that everyone has to start going through one of 3 distributors, that they said that they thought long and hard about this and it's not just about COVID-19 and that they're doing this because it's best for the health of the market and for direct market retailers. And it's like, give me one example. Give me literally one example on how this is good for me as a retailer.
Show us your work and see if we can figure out why you're trying.
In all of this, I can barely even see how it's good for DC Comics, let alone how it's good for anyone except DC Comics. Like, it's bonkers to me. And so much of this feels, and I've said this so many times, I would love to hear the story behind these decisions because they are so aggressively incompetent.
So one-sided.
That it's like, how did anyone think this was a good idea? Like, it's not even a good idea for DC. Nothing about this. It all seems like it's designed to destabilize the market. It doesn't help at all. Like, this isn't like DC's going to make a bunch more money. And we'll get back to the single issue thing because I do want to talk about that. But to raise it up a level, the reason why this is so terrifying to a lot of retailers is that DC, as it stands now, is about 25 to 27% of Diamond's business. That's gone. It's just gone.
Can you name another business that could survive a 27% hit?
Overnight.
Yeah.
And also, like, so that's a chunk of money that's just gone. That Diamond has to learn to live without. And it's not like all of a sudden retailers are going to start taking the money that they were spending on DC at Diamond and spend it on other Diamond things. If they spend it on anything, it's going to be DC Comics from another distributor. So Diamond is not recouping that money by any stretch. So it's just gone. Additionally, a lot of Diamond's infrastructure is kind of built, and this is a problem they're having with the coronavirus, to work at scale. It needs to be running full-time at capacity. If it's running at less than capacity, it's kind of wasted money. So
it's like being a restaurant that can only be open for patio dining.
Kind of. So, I mean, in this case, it's a market. Diamond needs to be running 100% of Diamond, and now it's basically capped at 75% of Diamond.
Maximum.
So now you've got 25% of your space, your overhead, your everything, that's just useless. And you can't make a 25% smaller warehouse. You already built it.
Yeah.
It's that size. Your employees are that many employees. And so a lot of the people who got furloughed maybe not going to be coming back. Maybe there's not a job for them. And so the problem with this is that if Diamond is unable to figure out a way to effectively run their business at 75% of revenue, Diamond ends up going away. And if Diamond ends up going away, there's no way to distribute single-issue comics through the market. I don't know that a lot of companies are going to try to figure out a way to jury-rig something. You're not going to have people going like, well, we'll partner with Coliseum to get books out to people or whatever. Or maybe UCS can also include, again, Image and Dark Horse and whatever. Like, the size of Diamond is decades of work to get there. It's not something that you can just throw together in a few months. So if Diamond does go away, I mean, that's it for single-issue comics. And then what makes this all so colossally stupid is that should that happen, DC having their own distributor won't matter because there won't be stores because all the stores who depend on single-issue comics are going to go out of business. They can't stay in business just selling single-issue DC comics. And that's multiple stratas of the whole market. That's publishers and creatives and distributors and every aspect that's suddenly just going to be wiped out. There are publishers, and I think right now there's a lot of publishers that are figuring out what does our business model look like without single-issue comics in print? Like, how does the economics work if they're digital only? And then how do print graphic novels cover that gap? Like, what money are we bringing in if we do that? Because you have to start planning for there is no distribution for single-issue comics because, I mean, the clock is ticking as far as I'm concerned.
On the horizon.
I don't know how fast it's going to be, but it could be real fast. Things in 2020 are happening incredibly fast. A lot of worst-case scenarios are happening kind of all the time. So, yeah, man, like, this isn't just how our store's going to deal with DC or whatever. It's like Jenga, and DC just pulled 25% of the bricks out all at once. And it's like, man, if that's stable, it's not real stable.
They didn't just take them off the top.
No, they just grabbed 25% of the bricks right out. And it's scary. It's really scary. We talked when Diamond had shut down briefly for the pandemic about what our business model will look like. And we would still absolutely try to do a graphic novel only comic shop. I don't know if that would be successful. I don't know if there's enough interest in that happening. And the thing that concerns me is that, again, I talked about the ways that publishers need to be looking at what their business model looks like without single issue print comics. And I don't know how much material could even be pushed out. Like if Marvel as a company is depending on X amount of, I shouldn't say X, it's Marvel. If they're depending on a certain amount of single issue print comics coming out in a month to, cover people's salaries and creative salaries and editorial salaries and marketing salaries and all that stuff. If you don't have single issue print comics and you're just depending on digital comic sales and print collections, how much can you pay people? Like, can you afford Jonathan Hickman anymore? Can you afford, at DC, can you afford Greg Capullo? Can you afford Scott Snyder? Like,
this isn't even counting the marketing department and the sales department and
how many editors can you have? How many how much marketing staff or sales support can you have? Like, all of these things depend on a certain amount of product, and if there's no way to get that product to market, like, comic shops can absorb a lot of comic books, but I don't know what the bandwidth is going to be for something like Amazon or, Barnes and Noble or whatever. If Barnes and Noble is even a thing that's going to exist in a few years based on coronavirus and everything else, like, how much interest is there beyond the comic shops? I don't know what graphic novels, what level they sell at for places who are not comic shops. Like, we've seen dollar amounts of, like, what the book trade is worth to comics, but that's always with kind of the asterisk of, like, yeah, but it's not necessarily the stuff the direct market does well with. Like, the things that do great for graphic novels in the book trade are YA and kids books and manga and, a few generalist things here and there. When Hibbs has done book scan numbers, most Marvel and DC stuff does not do super great. And when it does, it's like a few books. Your average volume of, like, Green Arrow doesn't make any money. And a lot of the things that are currently being produced, the non-direct market doesn't care about that stuff.
No.
They're not aching for Justice League Odyssey graphic novels. So, I mean, you could sincerely find DC in a place where they're producing, I mean, a dozen titles a year, maybe, as far as, like, comic books. Marvel might be in the same boat. Like, these are things where DC pulling out of Diamond is catastrophic. Like, the market looks very different this fall. I don't even know how much of it's going to be around.
Do you think that Marvel's going to immediately say, hey, we've been scaling back because of all this, but we want to help Diamond out. Here's all those miniseries we canceled. We're going to reinstate those Morbius vampire covers.
Maybe.
We're just going to ramp it all up.
Maybe. But, I mean, that said, like, if you're Marvel and you're looking at this, I mean, that's one option. One option is, all right, we try and fill the gap. Like, for stores that don't want to deal with DC or go club only or whatever, like, maybe stores get more behind Marvel. Not that Marvel's been any great steward to the industry, but, I mean, it's the lesser of two evils at this point, which I would have almost never thought would be the case.
Definitely not. At this point, I kind of wish that everything DC is doing, I feel like they're doing it just to get rid of their single-issue comics.
It's just one of the only things that makes sense.
Just license your books to somebody else and be done with it. You don't have to publish them. You can let Marvel publish them.
Yeah, or just
give them to somebody who actually wants to do this.
Or just say, you know what, single issues, digital only, we're going to do collections, that's it. Like, don't even bother producing single issues anymore. Like, clearly that seems to be the end result of what AT&T wants.
Yeah.
Is, why are you printing comic books? This is stupid. So just don't. Just give up. Quit. Whatever people are fighting for on the inside of DC that ended up with this scenario, don't.
Not worth it?
No. This is not helping anybody. So, yeah, one option is Marvel produces more material because their number one competitor is not essentially in their market anymore.
Yeah.
So that's one option. The other option is, again, I feel like maybe Marvel takes a hard look and says, hey, let's start preparing for a life beyond single issues. Like, this does not feel sustainable anymore. The third one is, and this is the one that would drive me the most insane, Marvel starts distributing their own stuff.
Yeah.
They also leave Diamond. I mean, I don't know what contracts look like. I don't know when that could happen. But I don't know that they're not investigating it.
I'm sure they have been since the Lunar and
maybe
UCS started.
Maybe there's enough institutional memory within Marvel to be like, yeah, we tried that. It's a disaster.
Yeah,
like, this is not a smart move.
I hope there is. We sure have that memory.
Yeah. So, yeah, in general, like, this, however bad you think this is as a comics fan, let me assure you, it is substantially worse. Like, the amount of people who have been in this industry in retail for decades who are like, this is maybe the end. No joke. Like, retailers say that a lot. This feels like, yeah, I don't know, short of DC on Monday saying, oh my God, you guys, we're so sorry. We take it all back.
It was a mistake.
Yeah.
We thought it was April Fool.
Short of that, it's real bad. It's real bad. But getting back to us in particular,
one of the things before we get to Singlish Comics, one of the things we haven't discussed is how this affects us internally, specifically with subscriptions.
Oh, not good.
Anybody who has placed an order for anything that's coming out past the end of June, those orders aren't in our system anymore.
Nope.
So, I mean, I honestly don't know how we're going to manage subscriptions.
Yeah,
especially for new, like, it's one thing if someone's like, hey, I need a Batman, but when DC announces new titles.
Yeah.
Are we going back to spreadsheets?
No. There's probably a way to do it within Comic Suite. That's the thing that I think a lot of stores are going to have to figure out. But I think one of the problems that we're going to have is the flexibility that we gave people before is probably going to be a thing of the past for DC. I want this cover for this month is like, I can't do it. Like, there's literally no way for me to put that in here in a way that's going to get reported correctly. So, like, you can be like, I want Batman A covers, or I want Batman B covers, or I want Batman A and B covers. But the granular, okay, I want Batman A covers, but for 95, I want the B cover. For 96, I want the B and the A cover. Like, no, that's done.
We've heard from people that both these distributors haven't had a way to work with any POS system yet.
No.
Comic Hub reached out to them
for
immediately to say, hey, let's, like, how can we incorporate this? So, like, just ordering for us is going to be
Yeah. Oh, the whole thing's a nightmare. The whole thing is a nightmare.
We can't look up all of our sales in the system because what?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to track sales that great. Like, certainly not through a lot of the ways that Comic Suite does it. Like, you can do it through RMS, but it is literally you going into an issue and going like, okay, I got to order Batman 96. Let me go to Batman 95. How many did I sell? This many. And I think these were subscribers, and I think these were shelf copies.
A nightmare.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, a lot of the tools that we had that enabled us to stay on top of it are probably gone.
And when this happened with Marvel and Heroes World, there were no POS systems.
No. Yeah, I mean, back then it was all cycle sheets. So switching from one distributor to another doesn't really matter. And a lot of this is because we have a point-of-sale system and subscription management tools that are designed by Diamond. They're not designed to work with non-Diamond distributors. That is one of the advantages of Comic Hub, but again, Comic Hub kind of has the issue of you still need to figure out how to work with it. Like, Comic Hub is built around a lot of things, but the subscription stuff is kind of largely built around Diamond's catalog. From the little time I was using it, don't quote me on this, but from the little time I was using it, it still seemed pretty heavily around, like, there is a catalog, there is final order cutoffs, there are new to orders.
Yeah.
This stuff is a very specific procedure, and this is how Comic Hub deals with it. So the idea of doing DC cycles, but through a different, like, it's not, without getting help from UCS and Lunar, I don't know how Comic Hub's going to deal with that.
And it's not just Comic Hub, it's Moby.
Sure, I mean...
It's definitely Comic Suite.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I mean, like every decision DC's making, there's no upside of this. It's just way more work and way more frustration, and none of it seems like it has any benefit whatsoever. Like, there's a certain amount of shit that retail will eat if there's some silver lining, but there's zero silver lining here. It's all just shit. And the fact that, again, DC cannot even articulate one positive to retailers is kind of them showing their cards.
Yep.
Is like, no, it doesn't help you, and no, we don't care. Like, there is no discussion about this. There is no, like, soliciting advice. It's just like, this is it. This is what DC's doing. And that's why I think there are probably a lot of retailers that are like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just not going to carry Batman comics anymore. I don't think it's going to be a lot, because one of the things about Batman comics is that you kind of can't not carry them and be a comic shop. Like, I've said before that we pride ourselves on trying to make a really nice environment for people to buy comics in. But for a lot of comics fans, that sort of presentation is irrelevant. As long as your store has Batman comics, they don't care what it looks like. It could literally be on fire, and they would brave the flames to get the new issue of Batman. The flip side of that is you can't not carry Batman.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, and this is getting back to what we were talking about before this podcast, about what we're going to do for single issues. The knee-jerk is subscription only. I'll cover subscribers, they shouldn't have to suffer for this, but I don't want to give DC one more goddamn dime than that. I don't want to promote their books. I don't want to push their product. I don't want to give them any sort of financial data that says that I agree with this decision of theirs. However,
we got in this business to sell people comics, and it's not their fault that DC is doing this, and they shouldn't be punished if they still want to get, I was going to say Red Hood and the Outlaws, but that's not a book we really sell off the shelf.
No.
If they want to get a copy of Green Lantern Season 2, and they're not a subscriber.
Or just Batman. I mean, we sell dozens of copies of Batman off the shelf every single issue. And
so we're going to tell those people you can't get them from us?
Right.
And the other stores in the city aren't necessarily sticking to that type of thing?
And not even that, but that's somebody who could have been shopping with us for years. Not a subscriber, but someone who's been coming to our store for years to buy Batman comics.
Yeah, as much as we push the subscription service, there's plenty of people who don't want to be tied to it.
And they don't know anything about this situation. It's not their problem. Like, they bought Batman 91, and now they come in to buy Batman 93, and it's like, oh, we're not carrying that because DC are jerks. Like, why is that their problem? Why is it this guy's problem that they can't get Batman comics from us? Like, that feels like us being an asshole, not so much DC being an asshole.
Right. And they'll never know what DC is doing, nor should they have to or care.
Right. So, long story short, I think we'll be carrying DC Comics to the rack. That said...
Not aggressively.
That said, don't feel great about promoting their material. If it's something by someone that we like, DWJ does another Wonder Woman Dead Earth or whatever, sure, fine. Yeah. For as long as there are still single comics anyway,
right?
Sure, fine. But, some new DC comic I don't believe in, I don't care. 1 or 2 copies for the shelf. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we're going to be a lot harsher.
Yeah.
And it'll be...
DC made it adversarial. So now, fine, I'm an adversary. How much do I want to support your product? As little as I have to.
I wanted Adversary to be the name for Serpent Crown back in the day.
I know, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Like that. Even I used the old X-Man logo font because I liked it a lot.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Didn't work out though.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just like DC's not working out for us.
Hey-o.
Ties it together.
So yeah, I mean, we need to get cracking on a new distributor.
If you're a subscriber and you want to make sure you're safe, add your DC books. You don't have to. We're not going to strong arm you into it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly will be telling people once we start selling out of, marginal DC comics, this is kind of the new normal. So if you want them, let us know. We'll get them for you. But I'm okay selling out of all that stuff as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And, for those retailers who are listening to this who are going to draw a line in the sand and not order DC stuff, to send them a message, I'm sorry if I'm a scab. I'm sorry if I'm part of the problem. I want to do what's best for my customers.
We support your decision to do it.
Yeah, man. That's one of the benefits of the direct market as it is right now, is that every retailer is their own boss. And if you don't want to do it, I respect your decision. I am deciding something different. I see why you're doing that, and I don't fault you for doing it. So please don't fault me for doing what I'm doing.
I don't.
Thanks, man.
Wow, yeah. I wonder what's going to happen next week.
Oh, no. I don't wonder that.
There's still a lot of protests planned for this weekend. Next weekend.
There, it's true.
And that always has me on edge.
It's almost because nothing got solved in the last week.
I know, right? Even more violence happens.
Literally nothing. And cities across the country have also drawn lines in the sands and made themselves adversaries.
I shouldn't even say this out loud, but I will knock on wood right now just to keep it safe. Mm-hmm. But all last Friday night, I was on edge, stressed out, because I was waiting for a phone call saying, hey, your mom's gone. Mm-hmm. Which happened Saturday afternoon. And then Saturday night, the looting. Mm-hmm. So Sunday night, petrified it's going to happen again.
Sure.
Stayed up most of the night, just checking security cameras, worried we're going to get the call from the security company.
Yeah. And
then Monday night, oh no, things are still bad. And we've been fortunate that we only looted 6 times.
It's true.
And I was getting a little bit more relaxed toward the end of the week, but that could change in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Ah, what a world. Yeah. Hey, Dal, thanks for being part of this podcast.
Yeah, Patrick.
And you, listener, thank you. Thank you for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773 888-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.